Good afternoon. It's been a couple of weeks since I did one of these, and so I wanted to bring you all up to speed on my latest um, travels and meetings. I spent last week out west meeting with most of our California West Coast contingent. And I wanted to kind of give an update on that. I finished the week and into the weekend at the Second Chance Alliance workshop training out in Greensboro, North Carolina. And that was a wonderful experience. And so I'll talk briefly about that. And my goal, like I said, is to keep these things under 5 minutes. We've got so much coming up. But I wanted to take a minute to, like I say, fill you all in on how that went. So I started out meeting with Susan and her group over at New Way of Life in LA. Um, the work they're doing with their family reunification project, I mean, it's, um, just imperative. I think that, when we're talking about um, reentry and things like that, that we kind of focus it not only on the individuals but families. And so the work they're doing with that, her Safe Houses initiative. I mean, I think um, having a place not only when we think oftentimes about criminal justice elements and reforms, we mostly think of men. I think, and that's one of the perceptions we have to change. But um, you know, the safe houses work with women and making sure they have places to go once they are, re-entered into society. And so, they focus both on national. They've got houses across California. Um, they've got one going up in Chicago. They've got one slated for New Orleans, but they're also working on international. A couple across Africa, Uganda, and Kenya. And so, the work they're doing with those um, are phenomenal, um, and definitely something that I think should be replicated across other organizations within our networks that have the capacity. Because I think it's so important that we focus on that. Um, got a chance to meet with Dorsey and Hundia's group. Um, the LSPC down in Oakland on Tuesday of last week. Um, got to go for the first time to the Freedom and Movement Center. And when I tell you that's an impressive space, full of history and full of uh, light. We have a lot of these buildings with dark spaces and the lighting isn't good. But I mean, it's just a wonderful building. The suites that they have, that they own, that they're renting out. All of the work done by formerly incarcerated individuals, all of the services and stuff. And so, an impressive space. I'm really looking forward to our retreat next month there, and um, but got a chance to meet the entire staff, for the most part, and the different things they're working on, working to get ACA 6 passed, and we're really on the ballot, I guess. Which will restore voting rights for at least another 50,000 Californians. And so the work they're doing, working with the legislature and people like Assemblyman member McCarthy, is, I think, pivotal, and I think it represents one of the next steps. The work that we do through legislatures and through city councils and through other political operations will be pivotal to kind of changing a lot of the laws and barriers that we're facing. The work around housing. There is an apartment complex on the block of where the center is located, and this complex ultimately will hopefully house folks who are getting out and needing a place to go. Um, it's well documented that, when folks are kind of reacclimated back into society with nowhere to go, they're likely prone to be, repeat offenders, or just a product of a system that is already, they've already kind of gotten caught up in, nowhere to go, nowhere to work, so on and so forth. And so the work they're doing with housing, I think, is extremely important to kind of grounding folks once they are re-entered back into society, because you have a place to live, and from there, kind of set yourself back on the right path. And so, I think that is a very important part of the work that they're doing and focusing on, working with the Oakland and Berkeley and San Francisco and a lot of those local municipalities and housing authorities to provide housing. Um, they've got 23 All of Us Are None chapters across the country, and growing. And so, definitely a lot going on in that shop as well. And I also got the opportunity to meet with Manuel and Tracy out of their office with CJ&Y and the Hayward Burns Institute. The work they're doing with the youth. Oftentimes you see programs working with males, or you see programs aimed toward females. Or if we go into a lot of these different organizations, we see that a lot of these folks are, a little bit more experienced, right? A little bit more seasoned. But the work that starts, I think, at the granular level with youth, um, is extremely important. So the work they're doing, they just finished up the Western Regional Conference a couple days ago, and over 300 of and plus, I believe, youth from across the country convening, all different backgrounds and what have you. And so, working and figuring out a way to tie not only my work, but the work of our organizations across the spectrum with groups and with the youth, I think, based and led groups and organizations, is going to kind of be pivotal to bridging that divide, right? That generational divide. And so I'm definitely going to be working closely with Manuel and that group, and trying to figure out ways that we can kind of tie in and bring in the um, that youthful energy and work ethic and knowledge base to this effort, to where we're giving everyone across our networks the opportunity to be a part of this movement and the body of work that we're putting out, but also, recognizing that that's just a segment of this that is often, I think, left out of the strategic component of this work. And so, really looking forward to working with them. A couple of groups in particular, the Young Women Freedom Center out of San Francisco, and the work that they've been doing in closing down juvenile halls, and particularly the big one in San Francisco proper. The work they're doing in San Jose, I think, is imperative, that, as best we can, we work with groups and organizations doing that kind of work. And so I know I've went way over. Like I said, I ended the week and into the weekend at the Second Chance Alliance in North Carolina. They had a training put on by Fort Justice for the most part, and CZI, Conrado, and the team were there doing the training. A lot of good information, a lot of good strategy in terms of how we grow our organizations and how we not only grow them, but how we keep them, flourishing and expanding out to where we're including everybody. And so I took away from that convening a lot of different, and I think, useful information that is helpful not only to the groups that were in the room, but I think it's something that should be replicated across states that we're currently in, regions that we're currently in, but places where we have deficits. And so, uh, I was speaking to Daryl not long after, I think the second day, but definitely something I think would be useful to organizations, both in network and those that we're looking at trying to bring in terms of teaching how to, share stories and how to use your stories, your personal stories to grow and expand and bring people into your networks. Like I said, we're just really getting started. This is the tip of the iceberg. We will be in New York in 2 weeks, visiting with our East Mid Atlantic, Northern Atlantic, I guess, counterparts. Um, and then we'll be getting ready for the retreat. I'm really looking forward to the work that we do there, as I think it kind of lays out where we go next with this. Um, I'm really looking forward to helping, you know, join in the search and helping to find and onboard my counterpart or parts as we build this thing out. But I just wanted, like I said, to give you all an overview of where we are, where we've been, and where we're headed next. Uh, I'm signing off. I will be reaching out as we're working on a few other things. Um, uh, but hopefully, all you have a pretty good rest of the day, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.